So, you know how we've all gotten used to thinking about AI as this single brilliant mind we chat with? Well, that whole picture is changing and fast. We're talking about a massive shift from a lone genius to, believe it or not, an entire collaborative team. So let's get into it. How did this Silicon workforce actually happen?
All right, let me ask you a question. Would you bet your entire company on just one employee? Seriously, imagine putting all your most important mission-critical stuff in the hands of one person. No backup, no oversight, nobody double-checking their work. You'd never do it, right? Because no matter how brilliant they are, that one person is a massive single point of failure. And yet, for a long time, that's pretty much exactly the risk we've been taking with AI.
Okay, this right here. This is the core idea. On one hand, you've got the lone genius, that one-size-fits-all AI trying to juggle everything at once. And on the other, you have what we're calling the AI office. Think of it, a whole team with different roles, checks and balances. It's not just a small upgrade, it's a completely different way of thinking about AI. So, let's mark a date on the calendar. The sources we're digging into point to early 2026 as this symbolic moment. It's when AI stopped being just a clever chatbot you'd ask questions and started becoming a genuine workforce you could actually hire to own a project. We're not just talking about spitting out text anymore. We're talking about managing a whole complex project from the very beginning to the very end.
But wait, why did we even need this big shift? I mean, the lone genius models are pretty powerful, right? Well, yeah, but here's the thing. They have some serious limitations. That model eventually just hits a wall, especially when you throw really complex, messy, real-world problems at it.
So let's peek under the hood of that single agent. How does it actually work? It's pretty straightforward, almost like a domino chain. You give it a prompt, it makes a step-by-step plan, it executes the plan, and then it gives you the output. But see the problem? It's completely linear. One thing has to happen before the next. Researchers have a name for this, a serial bottleneck, and it means that if just one of those dominoes falls the wrong way, the whole thing just stops, dead in its tracks.
And that is the absolute killer. In that rigid step-by-step process, if the AI makes a mistake, if it hallucinates, misunderstands something, anything, there's no safety net. None. The whole project just gets derailed. Now, for a simple, low-stakes task, maybe that's fine. But what about for things like finance or healthcare or our critical infrastructure? Suddenly, that's not just an error, it's a catastrophic risk.
So, to fix that huge single point of failure problem, a totally new idea came along, the AI team. And it's managed by something called multi-agent orchestration. Now, this is important. It's not just about firing up a bunch of AIs at the same time. No, it's about getting them to work together in a really smart, structured way.
So what is multi-agent orchestration? Well, here's the textbook definition, but let's make it simple. Think of a busy kitchen in a great restaurant. You've got the head chef, the sous chef, the line cooks. Each one is a specialist. On their own, they can chop some vegetables or sear a steak, but when they're all coordinated, working together towards that shared goal, that's when you get an amazing meal. That's the exact model for these AI teams.
I love this quote from the source material because it just nails the whole idea. Instead of building one agent that does everything poorly, you build 5 agents that each do one thing extremely well. It's all about specialization, not generalization. You don't want one jack of all trades who's kind of mediocre. You want a team of superstars, each a master of their own domain.
Okay, so what does one of these AI squads actually look like? How do you build one? Let's pop the hood and break down the anatomy of how these digital teams are built and, just as important, how they talk to each other. You can really think of this journey happening in 3 big waves. First up, you had augmentation. That was your basic chatbot helping you out. Then we moved into automation, where agents could actually use tools, but they were still stuck in that one-at-a-time bottleneck we talked about. And that brings us to right now, autonomy. This is where you have multiple agents working at the same time, in parallel, truly owning the entire workflow.
And this is the real technical leap forward. With the older sub-agent models, it was like having a whole team trying to work on one single whiteboard. Everybody shouting over each other, sharing the same space. It was a mess. The new agent team model is totally different. It gives each agent its own office, its own independent brain. They can send messages directly to each other peer-to-peer, and they all work from a shared project plan. That right there is the secret sauce. It's what lets them work at the same time instead of just standing in a single file line.
So inside these teams, you've got these incredible roles, almost like a team of rivals by design.
First, you have the planner. Its job is to set the whole strategy and, this is key, define exactly what a win looks like before anyone even starts. Then you have the executor, the doer, the one that manages the tasks. And then you have the critic. Think of the critic as the ultimate quality control. It's totally independent, and its only job is to look at the work and ask, does this meet the definition of success? If the answer is no, it has absolute veto power. The work gets sent back, period.
Okay, this all sounds really cool in theory, right? But the big question is, does it actually work in the real world? Well, let's look at the numbers, because the impact of these new digital coworkers is already being measured, and the results are pretty wild.
Get this. One survey mentioned in the sources found that companies using these multi-agent systems are seeing an average productivity boost of 66%. Let that sink in. That's not a small bump. That's not a 10% improvement. That is a massive leap forward in how much work gets done.
And what does that big number mean for actual people day to day? Well, it translates directly into getting time back. We're talking about employees saving somewhere between 40 to 60 minutes every single day. Imagine what you could do with an extra hour a day. More time for creative thinking, for strategy, for the stuff that actually matters.
And it's not just about saving time either. When you look at the big picture, the financial impact is just staggering. One case study in the energy sector showed that using these agent teams to optimize output generated over $1 billion in new revenue. I mean, that's the kind of scale we're dealing with here. But if you need that one wow example to prove what these teams can do, here it is. Researchers gave a team of 16 AI agents a truly massive task: build a C compiler from nothing. And they did it. They produced a 100,000-line program that was so good it could actually build something as complex as the Linux kernel. That's just an absolutely incredible feat of coordination and autonomy.
Okay, so at this point, you're probably thinking, what's the catch? Because achieving this insane level of reliability and power, well, it's not free. There's a definite trade-off here. So let's talk about the real cost of earning this kind of trust in an AI system.
So how do they get such a high success rate? It all comes down to what the sources call the Swiss cheese defense model. It's a great analogy. Think about it. Every single agent, like a slice of Swiss cheese, has holes. It's not perfect. But if you stack enough slices on top of each other, the chances of a hole going all the way through become tiny. And the data backs this up. Those internal critic agents, they catch and fix almost 88% of all the initial mistakes. By the time the process is done, you're looking at a final success rate of over 92%. That's how you build reliability.
So let's talk about the price tag. Going with a single agent, yeah, it's faster, it's cheaper, but it's a total black box. You get an answer and you just have to trust it. The multi-agent team, on the other hand, costs about 39% more in terms of pure computation. But here's what you get for that extra cost: an answer you can verify, an answer you can audit. You get a complete paper trail of every single decision that was made. Now, if your job is on the line, suddenly that 39% starts to sound less like a cost and more like a bargain.
Which leaves us with this final thought. As these teams get more capable, the question stops being if and starts being when. The silicon workforce is here, so the next time your company is hiring for a new role, what if your new coworker is made of silicon?